Greetings from Tokyo. I hope everyone is doing well today. We will be beginning momentarily on a film discussion live stream where the topic for today's discussion is planned to be the film, which is Jaws 3, Jaws 3D, um, as it's also referred to, the 1983 film. So just hold on for one moment, and I'm just finishing setting up everything, and we will begin in a minute or two. So thank you very much for stopping by. How is the sound, by the way? I hope the sound is okay. Floyd and Pink, hello. It's nice to see you. Very, very nice to see you. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, we will. Let's wait for just a couple more minutes and we will begin. So I hope I hope I hope you're excited about about this discussion as I am. I'm very excited. I have I'm not. This is just we're just waiting for another minute to begin. But yeah, I'm very excited about this. I have seen this film so many times. Jaws 3. I've seen Jaws 3 so many times. And it it's one of the earliest films I think I remember seeing as a kid in the theater. This is an 83 film, 1983 film. So I was born in 79. So yeah, but I remember seeing it in the theater. And there's one scene in particular that, well, there are a couple or a few scenes actually in particular that really scared the living daylights out of me when I saw this. And so I'll try to share that uh, while we while we while we let me just go forward here. So again, we'll start in about a minute. So so Floyd and Peaks, so good morning, hello. Thank you for checking the sound, my friend. I appreciate it. Yes, and the glasses. Oh, Seth, hello, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Yeah, that's right. We'll talk about Calvin Bouchard. Yeah, we'll talk about that. I don't want to get into too much, but what is it? Um, no grenades. We'll talk about those. Yeah, yeah. Listen, nephew, or something. Move the fish. Yes, we'll talk about those Calvin Bouchard lines. Yes, Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. It's great, great. You know, I never thought about it until actually last night, in fact. But as I was just getting ready to go to sleep, I was just laying down, just in that little, as Paul McCartney would say, in that little twilight before one goes to sleep. And uh, as I was just drifting off to sleep, I thought, oh, wait a minute. Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. in Jaws 3, and Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. in Enemy Mine, the film Enemy Mine. I loved Enemy Mine as a kid growing up. I had the VHS tape of it, watched it over and over and over again. It was great, great. I loved it. I never put two and two together. You know, Jaws 3 and Enemy Mine, but I loved both of them as a kid growing up. But anyway, boy. So Calvin Bouchard, yes. Yes, we'll talk about that. Great stuff. What a great character he is. Yes. Oh yes, and Seth talks about a particular shot about a shark shot and glass and shattering glass. Yes, we'll talk about that as well. That's a really great. I don't just um, yeah, okay, I'll get into that later. Yeah, so we'll start. Oh, anyway, let's begin. Let's begin. I'm very excited. So let's begin. So greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and here we are with a live stream film discussion. Over the course of the past few weeks, we have been discussing the films that are associated with this film series known as Jaws. We've spoken a few weeks back, or a couple weeks back, about Jaws, and then last week we spoke about Jaws 2. Today, I'd like to speak, talk, have a chat, have what I hope will be a good time with regard to talking about Jaws 3, Jaws 3D, this film from 1983. Very interesting film, directed by Joe Alves and starring, among others, Dennis Quaid, Bess Armstrong, Simon McCorkindale, Louis Gossett Jr., and others. Leah Thompson. Oh my goodness! So we'll talk about this great, great cast and their characters and the stories and the whole drama with Shelby Oberman and the dialogue. No overtime, no over. Right. We'll talk about all this stuff. Okay, and then our uh, uh, just my own personal connections with the film because as I say, I have a very, very a nostalgic glow when I watch this film every single time, and I'll try to explain why. So that's the discussion. So today, Jaws 3 or Jaws 3D. And before we do, let me now just go with our preliminaries and say that so this is a very this is meant to be a very casual discussion, not meant to be any type of academic essay or comprehensive review on the film Jaws 3. Just meant to be what I hope is just a fun time, a fun chat about this very interesting film, Jaws 3. So I don't have all the insight, I don't have all the information about the production and the details, but I have seen this film so many times since I was a kid. So on that basis, I would like to have this discussion with you if you're interested. So I will be speaking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film yet, please, I would actually strongly encourage you to turn off this live stream right now, and then you can watch the film. And then when you are ready to, and if you're still interested, you can always come back to this channel, this YouTube channel. This live stream chat will be uploaded as a video. After the fact, if assuming there are no technical issues or anything, it should be uploaded as a video after the fact. So you can always come back anytime and check out the discussion on Jaws 3. So I don't want to spoil anything for you in case you haven't seen it. So. And also, I want to say that the live chat is open, and so you can feel free to leave a comment, and I will do my best to respond to all. But please forgive me if I don't get to your comment, if I don't mention your name. I'm very bad trying to keep up. Again, it's not anything. I don't mean anything by it. It's just I miss things. I'm human. I try to catch up with things, but they go by so quickly. So please, I don't want to. I don't mean to insult anyone, or I don't mean to. Intentionally skip over anyone, who is doing this the live chat discussion. So I really don't mean to. Although I should say that if there are any specific comments or questions to me that are of a non-Jaws 3 related nature, then I might, in that case only, I might just very gently skip over that comment or question because I'd like to focus my energies today on Jaws 3. But if you do have the same non-Jaws 3 question, please, you can always leave that comment or question under another video on this channel. I always like to get back to all the comments that I can. I'm actually at this point maybe I'm a little bit falling behind, and that I haven't responded to all the comments over the past say several days that I would like to. But I do get back to the comments. So if you would like to reach out to me with a non-Jaws 3 related comment or question, please feel free to do so in a separate video if I miss it today, or if I skip over it today. So, but this is. Oh yes, and one other thing too, which is I always am relying on you, my dear friends, because you have always been so kind and supportive of me and of this channel, and also of others and others' opinions. And wherever there is agreement, and connection, that's great. Or even where there is disagreement or about a particular or debate about a particular topic or film, etc. I always am so grateful to you because you always are so kind to show me sense of respect, and also you show others a sense of respect. And so, thank you so much, as always, for doing so. And I look forward to our discussions, and I will continue to rely on you for that great attitude that you always have towards film discussions and also just online discussions in general. So, thank you very much for always showing me what great discussions can look like. And so I always follow your wonderful example, my dear friend. So thank you so much for that in advance. All right, so I think we are good to go. I think we're good to go. So if we're all set, let's do this. So all right. So before we do, so Floyd and Pink, thank you, and Seth is here. Thank you so much for this. And yes, yes, we missed you at the last live stream, Seth. So thank you so much for showing. Scott, thank you so much. I saw that picture of the Jaws 2 novelization. So I apologize for not getting back to you sooner about that. But that looks so cool. Yes, yes, yes. And you say here, shark becomes sympathetic for the first time as I try to save it. I forgot if the shark or shark I haven't seen. So I think you're referring to the pool number 6, where after Calvin Bouchard has, he makes all the decisions. So he says to the guy, move the fish. And he's referring to the great white, which is the first that has ever been captured and is kept in captivity, which is the idea that this is the baby shark. We know it's a baby shark according to Dr. Morgan because it still has all its teeth. And so the baby shark is moved prematurely to pool number 6 for a general a spectatorship, because SeaWorld is opening. And unfortunately for the baby shark, and indeed for Dr. Catherine Morgan, K. Morgan, Bess Armstrong character, what a great character by the end, Liz. Or is Liz there? I forget actually. And the guy who says earlier, didn't he give you any signs? That guy. And Philip Fitzroyce is also there in his drenched look, etc. Everyone is always wet, and then they get dry very quickly all of a sudden in this film, Jaws 3. But that's another point entirely. But yes, so the baby shark gets swimming and then it dies. So, and there's a very sad music, and you hear in the background like a baby crying, "Wah!" And then the somber Alan Parker music, da da da, and they're walking so sadly out of the pool, and uh, all right, go ahead, photograph it. Oh yes, yes, I think that's the scene you're referring to. So there's a lot of sympathy, of course, for the baby shark, but then of course things go to complete chaos and mayhem after that immediately because of the appearance of the mother, right? To quote the what I think is a great line from Bess Armstrong. Overman was killed inside the park. The baby was caught inside the park. Its mother is inside the park. Therein lies the dilemma, because now we have the mother, the huge shark swimming around the lagoon area, this enclosed body of water that is part of the Sea World complex, I suppose. And it's just wrecking havoc. Although I will try to get into this, how I think actually this huge shark, which I think in terms of its dimension and size, it's probably the biggest shark of all the Jaws, the official Jaws films. So I mean, they've always been big fish, big sized fish, but this one in particular seems incredibly huge. And so we get that. Although at the same time, despite its huge behemoth size, there's also this this thing about how it eats. It seems to be. Well, okay, we'll get into how it seems to be like. Well, okay, I'll get into. There's a little bit of an issue I see about its eating, its way of eating things. So, but we'll talk about that. It's very peculiar. But let's see here. So, and I'm so sorry. Yes, I just got carried away here. I'm so sorry with I read the wonderful comment. I got carried away. I apologize. Let's see. Oh, Matt is here. Matt Flaird is here. Hello. It's you say I just saw the movie 45 minutes ago. It was a good movie. Well, thank you. If I'd love to hear those reactions that you had. So it's still fresh in your mind. That's wonderful, Matt. Thank you so much. Yes, Seth says, I love how the very first seconds of this film, starting with the universal title, is Bada shark theme. Yes, and swimming around, and that poor little, I don't know what the, I'm not a marine biologist, so to quote a line from Seinfeld, is anyone here a marine biologist? So I wouldn't raise my hand, but the opening with that fish, what is it, the sea bass looking fish, I don't know, and then that poor fish, and then the mouth moving and the head and the little white stringy things still sticking out, and the cloud of red ink, and it's the ominous, yes, floating fish head. Yes. All right. So let's see. Yes, Seth says, speaking of teeth, how about Jaws attempting to open a door with its tooth? Yes. Yes, and was I mistaken, or was Jaws roaring in this movie? Yes, there was some roaring. There's that tooth, and there's the great underwater scuba diving dialogue of Dennis Quaid as they're trying to shut that door. You're talking about the door that leads to the airlock chamber that leads into the control booth for the final scene. Uh, and then they're trying to shut it because this is after the shark has escaped the filtration pipe, even though uh, um, Philip Fitzroyce and company have successfully shut it, but at the cost of Philip Fitzroyce's own life. They've shut the shark back into the filtration pipe and locked it. But then in the control room, Calvin Bouchard decides to want to suffocate the fish, so he decides to turn off the pressure. And then that inadvertently, I think, allows for the shark to use its momentum based on its huge weight, because it's a behemoth size, to essentially and Jack Tate, who is the companion of Philip Fitzroyce, realizes when he's in the tunnel and he says, so that's that part, and then the gate can't hold out much longer, and that's what happens because it uses the tail, I think, the power of the tail to essentially break the gate open from the filtration, and it leaves, but just not before Mike Brody and Kay were underwater, have managed to patch up the tunnels for the underwater tunnels and the people that are trapped there because of the damaged tunnels. So they're able to patch that up. The water pressure is reestablished, and then that allows for the automatic doors to open up and the oxygen to flow again, and they can go out. And so those two then escape barely to the control room, but not before the shark tries to open the door with that tooth. And then we hear Dennis Quaid's wonderful underwater scuba dialogue. It was great. It's wonderful. Okay. So there's a lot of that dialogue there too. So we'll talk about that. And they go, and it leads into the final scene, and then it's great. All right. So actually, yes. So let me say here. Scott Johansson continues. Bess Armstrong, fun to watch in High Road to China, starring Tom Selleck. Yes, High Road to China with Tom Selleck. I don't remember. I also have memories of going to the theater to see High Road to China as well. My mother, in particular, loved that movie. So yes. Let's see, Jared. What's happening, everyone? I didn't get a notification for Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't. Maybe it was something I did on my side. I hope it. I hope it wasn't. But I'm glad you're here, Jared. Thanks as always. Thank you. Let's see. Slumpness Monsters here. Hello. You say I really love Roy Scheider. He makes Jaws too watchable. What a great. Yes, Roy Scheider. I agree. Roy Scheider is fantastic. So thank you so much, my friends. And let's see. Sorry, but there's one other thing. There we go. Jared says Louis Gossett Jr. is the best part of this film for me. Yes, yes. I must say that I do like the other characters as well. I think Calvin Bouchard is fantastic. I think Mike Brody and Kay Catherine Moore I think are fantastic. I think Kelly and Sean. I think that's a really the standoff. It's a game of balance. My fly's open. Oh, you cheated. Oh, you cheated. It's not just a game of balance. It's a game of deception. But let me buy you a beer. And I'm like, okay, that's good. So standoff, that's great. And then after they leave, that guy that lost to Kelly, I want you, I want you. So standoff. I've never actually played standoff. So I really should try. Every time I watch this film, I think, oh gosh, I really want to try standoff in a bar. I've never played standoff in a bar, but I'd like to try one of these days. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so regarding Jared's comment about the great performance by Louis Gossett Jr. I think it's great, and I think the characters. I think it's a great ensemble of characters, and Philip Fitzroyce and Jack, and also even the seemingly bit parts. Like I like that rather that rather heavyset guy on the bumper boats. I like that guy, and because he just knocks them over. He has like no shame or no. He's just ruthless in terms of his bumper boating. So there's that guy, and then there's Shelby Overman. Don't talk. Let's not forget Shelby Overman. He's in many ways the he is he's like what's the phrase that George Lucas says in the making of Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace, that documentary talking about Jar Jar. Jar Jar is the key to this, right? Shelby Overman is the key to this. It's because of Shelby Overman essentially that all this stuff happens, and everything revolves around Shelby Overman in a fascinating way. So there's that character, and then there's Charlene getting angry, throwing the bag, blaming Mike Brody for Shelby. I don't know why she's blaming Mike Brody, but anyway, there's that, and she says this thing, he don't sleep in, he don't live in. You can tell Shelby, you can take a no, what is it? Something about a giant donut on a gravel driveway or something, which is a very fascinating turn of phrase. I don't quite understand what it means. It's really fascinating. I don't mean him any harm. You hear me? I don't mean him any harm. And then those two guys are trying to steal the coral, and they're just talking in whispers. I have no idea. One of them is Randy, and they have an inflatable boat. The inflatable boat. Don't ever have an inflatable boat in a Jaws film. You're gonna regret it immediately. And then there's nephew, and there's the other woman in the control room. It could be an obstruction, talking about the filtration pipe and all this. So there's a lot, and there's the guy driving the cart with the popcorn, and it falls. Hey Brody, and the kids get the popcorn. He was just doing his job. He was trying to drive the golf cart with the popcorn. Anyway, yeah. So my point here is it's a huge ensemble of very entertaining points. Okay, let's see. Uh, uh, let's see. Um, let's see. Stand in silence. Oh, hello. So you say, what's so amazing about Roy Scheider? You say A, you have to explain A. Well, no, I mean, thank you very much for the comment. You say A, okay, you have to explain A. I mean, I don't know if I have to explain everything, but I think it's just a very. I have this. I think he's really wonderful as in terms of his performances. So I think that's an explanation in and of itself. But thank you very much for the comment. Let's see. Um, Jared says this is Leah Thompson's first film too. What was this her first film? Oh gosh, I always forget that. But yes, I thought she was very. She had this type of youthful energy that was very much a built. It was a nice counter to the energy that was brought by Dennis Quaid's Mike and Bess Armstrong's Kay. And then that had nice chemistry with Sean. But they were also very playful, but in their own way as well. And I liked the camaraderie when there was the four of them, and then they're in the bar, and then they're on the beach, and then they go into the lagoon area. So I thought that was really that was really uh, Leah Thompson had a really nice rapport, so it was good. And then what happens to her around the middle or towards the end of the film, it really was very shocking. There was a kind of very violent episode that occurs, and sort of it's really quite um, quite. It was there was a shot of her injured leg. You remember that? And that was one of the traumatizing moments for me as a kid. I was like, ugh, that's very disturbing. And then that also seems to solidify the relationship between Sean and Kelly, because at the end, Sean says, he says, I'm going to go with Kelly, and goes into the ambulance, and he says to Mike, Mike says, yeah, I think you should. And then Sean says, what are you going to do? And Mike says, I don't know. And that's I think the last we see of Sean in the film, and Kelly for that matter. So we assume that they're okay, and they're probably going to get together. But yeah, so all right, so we will. Let's see. We will. Okay, let me just go ahead and. Let's see. Stand in silence. LOL. Sorry, Daisuke, for my provocative comment. You're also. Oh, no. Thank you. No, not a problem. Not provocative at all. So, but thank you very much anyway. I appreciate it very much. And well, not awesome at all. I'm not awesome, but I'm always very happy to hear from you. You all are awesome. I'm just in for the ride, as it were. So, but thank you very much, all the same, my friend. I hope you're well. So let's see. Jaws 3. As I mentioned earlier, I remember seeing this in the theater back in the early 80s when it was initially released. My memories are very foggy and hazy at best, so I don't remember every single thing. I do remember seeing the red font coming up for the opening credits, and I remember the three young women who are going into the tunnels, and they're attacked by the kind of the rope, the fake octopus thing, tentacle. I remember that, and I remember the bit where one of them is screaming when they see the floating chewed up body of Shelby Overman outside, and some guy pushes her face against the glass accidentally. So I remember seeing Shelby Overman's face being pulled from the sheet being pulled from the face, and that huge close up with the thing and the eye and Mike Brody's reaction, and um, I remember Cindy and Sandy, and of course Calvin Bouchard and nephew, and there's like that we'll talk about the nephew scene at the end there. What happens to poor nephew? Oh my goodness! And of course, I think for me, what could be one of the greatest scenes in any Jaws movie is the demise of Philip Fitzroyce, which is I see it, I get chills because it traumatized me as a kid. It's so scary to me just to see that's oh my gosh, what happens to Philip Fitzroyce. But and also I'm reminded from that scene that my especially my mom, speaking of Simon McCorkindale, just my mom loved Manimal. My mom absolutely loved Manimal, and so every now and again in the household, she would say, "Oh, Manimal," just randomly in the house, she'd say Manimal, and I'd be, "Oh, Manimal, yes, Manimal," and that's all we'd have to say, and I think we would understand. Oh, Manimal, yes, Manimal. So of course, Simon McCorkindale and Manimal. I always like to think that, you know, Philip Fitzroyce in that scene where he's being chewed inside the mouth of the shark, and we're inside the mouth of this terrible, this horrible death gurgling sound. It's really quite frightening just to even think about it. But I was thinking, oh, he should have, become Manimal. He should have turned himself into, I don't know, like he can turn into any like a tiger or a lion, but you're underwater, so he should have turned into a shark. So he should have been Manimal, transformed into a shark while you're stuck in the mouth there. So you could have been like a super shark, and you could have like exploded out of the shark's mouth, or swum out, and you could have had like your final battle, shark versus shark, in that filtration pipe area. But anyway, so there's that scene, and all that, and then just the bits of dialogue, and I'll have my beeper beep your beeper, I'll have my beeper beep your beeper back. And so that I for the longest time I never understood what that exchange meant. between Mike Brody and Kay. But now, you know, technology advancements, beepers. I've never had a beeper, but I understood later what a beeper was, and so okay, that's what they were talking about when they're having that beeper conversation in the morning there in the kitchen. So these are just memories, these memories that are floating in my head, much like two thieves in the night floating across the lagoon in an inflatable boat. But they are floating, I think, in a way that I cherish and I absolutely adore because it brings me back to this part of my childhood, and it also brings me back to a time where it was like you could watch anything and the sky's the limit, and yeah, it's really quite it's quite something to think. Yeah, it's something that I saw as a kid in '83. I'm still thinking about it now. What, nearly 40 years later? My goodness, that's really I'm thinking about that. That's I'm time flies. I'm just so struck about how time seems to fly. Does it not? But I know that this film maybe gets not the biggest or the best critical assessment of the Jaws films. I get that. I know that there are really corny moments. I get that. I know that there's some scenes that looks like what was that? I get that. You know, I know someone. I think Seth was talking about that shot about the shark crashing into the glass at the end there, and all the you know and it opens its mouth just a little bit just before the shattering glass. Yeah, I know. It's the effects shots are maybe not maybe they leave something to be desired, perhaps, let's put it that way, and so there I do understand that, but um that stuff never, Cindy and Sandy at the end with that great, that never bothered me. That never bothered me. But I mean, it's these are effect shots in a film, and so I mean they those scenes still hold a lot of entertainment value for me. They hold a lot of entertainment value for me. So I'm I'm I still hold this film in that regard. And if you feel differently, of course, if you feel like this film is not so good, not so good at all, let me know. Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. You can let me know. You can let us know, and let us know very freely. And at the end of the day, we can still, I hope, be friends. To kill, but to still talk about, what was that, a Freudian slip? I don't know, but to still talk about Jaws films and other also films going forward. So, my dear friends, that is my approach to Jaws 3. And by the way, I don't remember. Excuse me. I don't remember. I don't remember if I saw it in the theater in 3D or not. I wish I did. I'm kind of, what's the phrase, racking my brains. I'm trying to remember if I did or not. If if it's the case that I don't remember, probably that means I didn't see it in 3D. Maybe it wasn't fitted. My theater wasn't fitted for the 3D experience. I don't know. And then after that on VHS, I just saw it over and over and over again. Um, you know, right, Mike Brody says, no overtime, no overtime. Well, I saw this film on overtime. Definitely did. And so it could be the film that I've seen the most of the Jaws films, to be perfectly honest. It was that much. And the VHS experience, of course, wasn't 3D. And so I think the VHS was Jaws and Roman numeral 3, right? It was that title sequence at the beginning. Now with the Blu-ray, it's a 3-D, the number 3, but it was, I think, in the VHS that I saw, it would always be the Roman numeral 3, and that was it, no D at the end there. So, but yeah. So that's my take on Jaws 3, and so I am a fan. I'm a big fan of this one. So we will end proud fan of Jaws 3. So, uh, we will go from there. So, before I go into the specific details, let's go to the chat here. Um, let's see. Oh, let's see. Lane is here. You say, "Hey, Dice Gave, glad to finally catch you live. Love Jaws 3." Oh, it's great to see you, and thank you very much for also expressing Jaws 3 love. Thank you, thank you. Um, Jared, you say, oh, and Scott, you say, saw Jaws 3 in theater, complete with the 3D glasses. Well done, Scott. Well done, Scott, my dear friend, our dear friend Scott. And Jared says, I've never really been able to register 3D at any point in my life. Half the time things are in 3D, and the other half nothing coming out at me. Yes, and I can imagine there are a number of things in Jaws 3 that I could imagine would look really cool in 3D. You know, there's the bit at the end with the shark exploding, and you have all the bits of shark junk flying through the space of the water, and then you have the upper lip and the bottom lip, and it's just floating there. And then maybe I think the dolphins at the end is just swimming. I think you could probably feel them in the 3D space. And then there's also the bit where they're putting the poison into the syringe, and then they're testing in that. Let's test this. How should we test this if this syringe works? Oh, I know. We'll just squirt it out into the camera. So I bet there's that bit there. And then there's a bit where Philip Fitzroyce, I think, pokes a stick at the shark near the end there in the filtration pipe scene. And so and then there's, I think, a reed that points into the camera as those two thieves in the night. You know this, Dave. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna go. Oh, there's snakes here. There's snakes. Oh, there's a frog. Someone's gonna give us $200 for the good piece of course. You know, the real good stuff. You know those guys. And I think there's a bit there. So I think there's some 3D design things that are meant to give us this 3D effect in the film. But as I say, I don't remember, unfortunately. So let's see. Um, yeah, yeah. Seth says the effects in this film to me are better than 99% of any completely CGI rendered scene in any film. And then Jared says, the shark floating that was just poor. I just shake my head at that. Even when I was a kid, I thought the Star Wars trilogy was made by this point. They couldn't have better effects. But Laney Lane says, I agree, Seth, for what they were working with during that time, the effects are excellent. Yes, I know that there is an issue about the use of, say, film, and I think it was maybe film and video, and then 3D, how that looks when it's non 3D rendered, and so there's a little bit of a blur. You know, the contrast is affected, and so, and maybe also in terms of the composite effects shots, with the submersible or the yellow submarine. Isn't it great? It's a yellow submarine in a Jaws film, by the way. And I mentioned Paul McCartney earlier, so I have maybe yellow submarine. I'd love to think that. Wouldn't that be great if that shot in the underwater bit when the two of them are in the yellow submarine and they're playing yellow submarine. Anyway, so those scenes have this kind of, maybe maybe special effects wise, maybe they're not the best that one might be used to, but again, as I mentioned before, that doesn't bother me at all. I think it's part of the feel and charm of the Jaws 3 universe. And so I like the bit where she says, oh, hi, Mike, and you see her in the control room with the glass. It's great. um, let's see here. So anyway, let me now go to just the start of this film. And so, as I mentioned before, we begin, as Seth also mentioned too, we begin with the underwater and the, now I think, standard approach to what we can assume is maybe POV shots that are edited together underwater in the scene, and suddenly we get to this kind of, that fish got that fish, and then it goes in, and you hear the crunch sound, and then the floating head. And I think the floating head too is meant to be a 3D design effect, and that's meant to be something that will say, oh, here's a 3D film, a floating head, complete with still moving mouth. and then Jaws Street. Cha. Da 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 da. The Dark Dennis Quaid, Bess Armstrong, Simon McCorkindale, and Louis Gossett Jr. as quote Calvin Bouchard, quote. Yes, great stuff. And then the music, the Alan Parker music. Da da da. Yeah, na, 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 na. So we have the Jaws theme acknowledged by John Williams with this new music by Alan Park, which is a great score, by the way. Na, 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 na. And we don't get that part of the theme, we get it a little bit later. And then he goes to the surface, and we get the da 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 da, da with the water skiers and that element, and we understand they're water skiing. They're water skiing out in the open sea, the open ocean. Then now we get a little bit of the geography introduced. The outside sea, and we see a little bit of the fin, so we understand maybe a shark is out there, maybe targeting those water skiers in the boat. And we know that there are a bunch of them, and they're on this like tower setup routine, which looks really amazing, by the way. And we at the top. Um, Look at the clown in the jockey shorts, Kelly. And come on, pay attention. Do it like this. And everyone falls and then the flooded the guy driving the. Oh, it's flooded. Oh, it's not working. Come on, I have a date tonight. Oh, let's go into the lagoon. Is my favorite. And the shark is somewhat. Yeah, and then they just in time regroup and they go. This means they go into the lagoon, which is part of this enclosed structure within SeaWorld, which is the enclosed pool of water, this huge body of water that's enclosed, and it's shut off from the rest of the ocean by, we understand, maybe a gate and maybe uh, some other barriers of some sort, including to some kind of pipe, which is meant to feed in water into filtered water, I think, into the lagoon. And also, I understand there's probably some outlet that allows water to go out, some kind of circulation system, which is therefore the interior, which is the lagoon, has some kind of connection with the outside. Controlled connection with the outside water, but we understand fundamentally it's sealed off by this gate, and the gate is about to close, but as the fin submerges, the gate closes, or it's about to close, and it jams. It jams and it remains open. So here we have the point where we think, or we understand that something has entered SeaWorld at this point. This is probably where it has happened. And Overman is this huge muscly guy with the mustache, and so he's like, it's checking out. He seems to be the person in charge with the mechanical workings of this gate. Something I don't know, but she is jammed or something. Better call Mike Brody. So Mike Brody, we hear the name Mike Brody, and we realize, oh, is this the Mike Brody? Oh my goodness, if it is the Mike Brody, then we're in for a treat, because Mike Brody we know from previous Jaws movies. Mike Brody, I got cut, I got hit by a vampire, Mike Brody, or, Mike Brody, Sean's out there. He wanted to come. It was okay, wasn't it? That Jaws 2 Mike Brody. And now Mike Brody is that jet ski Dennis Quaid Mike Brody, who comes in later, and we think that he is some kind of engineer of sorts, who is maybe an engineer or architect or designer or something, having to do in a very key role with the construction and design complex of SeaWorld, including this particular gate. So there we have the idea of Mike Brody coming in, and Mike Brody then gives the order to Shelby Overman and his crew to fix the gate. What is it? You can fix the gate, on straight time. You've got enough overtime. You can work on overtime. No overtime. No overtime. So there's that. So the wheels are in motion. Yes, and already we have this enigmatic figure introduced into the world of Jaws, who is Shelby Overman. And so we will see what Shelby Overman has in store for this particular proceedings going forward. But before that, that is not the only, of course, that is not the only source of character development in this film. We have a number of other things going on. First, in SeaWorld itself, I mentioned SeaWorld. This is a new park, a new marine life aquatic park. What is it? Welcome to SeaWorld, the world's largest marine life aquatic. I don't have it memorized, but I'm mimicking, of course, that the practice of the guides at SeaWorld. Where right the shorts are short enough. What does she say? Show any cheek and you'll be back shoveling French fries, which is I was when I was a kid, I never quite understood what that line meant. What does it mean to show cheek? And so later, oh, I see that. When I was a little bit older, and uh, I understood maybe there could be maybe many meanings for the word cheek. And I thought, oh, okay, oh, that's what she meant when she was saying the word cheek. So, so there's that part, and then there's the explanation about the lagoon and the underwater tunnel complex and the central compound, complete with restaurant and bar and everything like that. And this is the brainchild of, who is it? None other than the one, the only Calvin Bouchard, right? Calvin Bouchard. This is one of the great iconic characters of any Jaws film. Calvin Bouchard, played by Louis Gossett Jr., with a great introduction. He's just standing there like a god, like a Greek god, a legend, an icon. He's just standing there, and so larger than life, and he's just looking out onto the lagoon, seeing the water skiers their practice, Kelly included. Beautiful, just beautiful. And then he mentions to that they're going to have celebrity, including the one, the only Mr. Philip Fitzroyce. Yes, it's going to, then you can go to the bar. Come on, drink their drinks in the bar. Come on, they're free. Let's go. So we have that introduction there of this huge, larger than life figure, that the boss of SeaWorld, as it were, Calvin Bouchard. So that's very important. We also saw a little bit of Kelly, which was the on the water skier team there. And now we get also, come on, Cindy, come on, Sandy, and we have Catherine, the Bess Armstrong character, who's riding what I think is a real killer whale in that scene, right? Which is incredible. Bess Armstrong riding a killer whale. So that's wow. And then so she is the head marine biologist here, and so we also understand she's involved with the health and safety of the aquatic life, including the dolphins, including the killer whales, and also maybe in terms of their training, etc., because they are performing. And then also see too that she has a relationship with Mike Brody, and they are going out, and they are a couple. And I think they've been going out for about a year and a half. I think I hear somewhere else. So, Bess Armstrong and Dennis Quaid. Bess Armstrong, what a great character. She is like the Matt Hooper of this film, because she brings the expertise of what the shark is, and what the she provides that explanation. But I really like her character. She has that friendliness, and that kind of there's an authenticity, and that a feeling of authenticity, and that really shines through. And her chemistry with the other performers, I think, is really great. I think the Mike Brody, Catherine Morgan, Kay Morgan dynamic is really wonderful. Did you have a phone call, Venezuela? Oh, I'm so proud of you. Oh, but what about the 6 months I have here, and then the other job opening up at the other, what is it, the something institute? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can always just drop your life and come back. Oh, yes, so they have that going on, and there's Maggie, and you're not supposed to feed the dog on the counter, and there's the whole thing with who's gonna pay at the bar. Mm, right, so she pays, and do you turkeys have any ID? And then right, wait, wait, Mike K, brother, hey, Mr. Bullhorn, no, no, Cecil, you keep your hands off yourself, young man. And they catch Sean with his What are those? What are those? What's that underwear type called? What is it? Are they fruit of the loom? I don't know. I mean, I've never thought about what type of underwear Sean has, but they seem fruit of the loomy. But so there's that part, and um, okay, and then but she also brings a great deal of gravitas, and as they say, she brings the expertise about what's going on with the shark. It's a shark with a bite radius about a yard across. And Philip Fitzroyce in the bar acknowledges that and then supplements with that. That would indicate a shark of being over 35 feet in length. You know, you said it exactly. And our shark right, still has all its teeth. That means it was a baby. Our shark couldn't have killed Overman. Its mother did, right? And then Calvin Bouchard, mother, shark's mother. Calvin, yeah, and the shark gave birth way out to sea, and swimming into the lagoon. You left open, Brody. And then Kay's like, no, she's not having any of this. He said, no, and I'm going to repeat it again because I love this line. But Overman was killed inside the park. The baby was caught inside the park. Its mother is inside the park. So Kay, what a great character in this world, in this great world of Jaws. So yeah, yeah. So that is introducing that element, and while we're at it, let's go back to Shelby Overman, and I'll get to the chat here. So now Shelby Overman has the mission of having to repair the gate. Somehow it's been knocked off of its railings or whatever underwater. So he goes under. He doesn't have any breathing apparatus because it's not one of those situations. So he's just at maybe at sunset. He's alone. It's still maybe is it overtime or not? I'm not sure. Maybe it's overtime-ish because there's no one else there. So he said no overtime, but maybe there's a sense of who Shelby Overman is, and we understand later that he has a relationship with Charlene, but Charlene there seemed to be a bit on rocky situation. So Charlene is not always happy with Shelby Overman, but that's another story entirely. That would be a great thing if there was this film about Charlene and Shelby Overman. But so anyway, Shelby Overman jumps into the water alone with the mask and the thing and just trying to figure out the lock or something. And sees just a little fish or something. It's just alone. And he's in the inner part of the lagoon, by the way. He's in the inner part of the lagoon, not the outer part, the inner part of the, and we understand that he's probably already locked the thing. He's locked it. This is also a key detail. He's locked the thing and it's locked. And he looks, and we have that Overman scream underwater. And we see, and then the mask with maybe a crack in it just, and then we see, I don't know, again, I can imagine what this must have looked like in 3D world, but the floating arm of Shelby Overman. Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh. And speaking of that floating arm, you notice how it's I think it's the right arm, and then you see the part where it's been, we assume, bitten off, and we see the bone inside. Though I don't know about you, but those bone, that chipped bone inside always looked to me like a bird's beak, of the beak of a bird. So I thought, oh, this is like an arm, but there's a bird that's stuck inside the arm. It's trying to get out, but it's stuck. And so you see this bird's beak inside Shelby Overman's floating arm in the middle of the lagoon there. So that's the 3D effect. And then we go to the surface and we see the thing something trying to get it. Boom, and it doesn't. It tries again. Boom, it doesn't. It's stuck. So we see that maybe there is a shark inside the lagoon in SeaWorld that is going to open in a couple days. The stage is set for Jaws 3. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Scroll, let's see here. All right. Scrolling down. Oh, Jared says people have said this was a bad marketing strategy. Um, excuse me here. People said this was a bad marketing strategy on SeaWorld's part. Come to SeaWorld. We've got man-eating great white sharks. Oh, that's yeah, it's interesting. Yes. Um, Laney Lane says the whole sea park theme always gives me great nostalgic feel from my childhood. Yes. Scott says I went to SeaWorld 2 times during the 70s in Orlando, Florida. Great fun and memories. Yes. Seth Wall says they had to capture Jaws to do battle with a space probe to save Earth. Let's see. And Jared says dusk is one of the times of the day one is likely to get attacked by sharks. Seth continues, everyone was so okay with getting in the water with Jaws in this film. I wouldn't even consider being near the water upon first discovery of Jaws. Jared says, yeah, it's like everyone wanted to get eaten by the shark. Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, especially later. Well, Shelby Overman, as we know, was in the water. He didn't expect there to be this huge giant shark turning around and like suddenly being there. Incidentally, the shark just creeps up on these people, right? Just suddenly there. That's amazing. That's really amazing. The jumps, that sharks are really good at jump scares. Amazing stuff. But yeah, so that is a trait too. I think uh, Philip Fitzroyce and Dr. Morgan in particular don't mind getting in the water, especially Philip Fitzroyce in that great red wetsuit, and we'll talk about that as well. Um, so now let us go back to more Jaws 3 goodness, which is so. Um, I also forgot to mention too that there is the interaction. Well, now we see too that they've got to get to work, and there is also the. Oh, hold on, wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. So before all this is going on too, there is uh, the introduction of Sean, and Sean is, of course, the brother of Mike Brody. And Sean is visiting from, we understand, going to school in Colorado. And he's visiting. He got a gentleman's C here. He got an incomplete, but he passed, or he got a good grade like in like physical education or something like that. But so he's visiting. He's got the great hat, and so that is reminding us of the Brody dynamic, and that is again calling back to the connections with Jaws and Jaws 2. Okay, so now we have the brother, oh, little baby brother, so that stuff, and then linked into the whole Shelby Overman storyline, or in parallel to that, we have the bar, and then we have the introduction of the standoff and Kelly, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. It's a game of balance, and then Kelly and Sean get together, and then they have what is it? Champagne of the working classes, according to beer, and you owe me a couple. And so there is the relationship between Kay and Mike Brody, and they just can't get their hands off each other. They're just like you two go on ahead. We'll just be going here. So there's that, and then while that's going on, we have Kelly and Sean getting to know each other a little bit more. And then while all this is fun is having in the bar, Charlene comes in, who's one of the waitresses at the bar, talking about Shelby Overman is he going out with someone in the souvenir shop or something like that. So there's all that going, all the intrigue going on, all the drama, all the romance is going on. So all these couples, and while all this is going, we have another couple as well, I think, which is the two thieves dressed in black. I think they're camouflaged, so they don't want to get caught because they want to get $200 worth of coral from the lagoon in SeaWorld. So that's their objective. So they want to get the good stuff, right? So their plan is to break into SeaWorld property, go onto the lagoon, swim into the lagoon, grab some seemingly valuable piece of coral, and then sell it somewhere in Florida or somewhere. So that's the plan. They're going to use an inflatable raft, and poor guy, he accidentally throws it on the ground, or not accidentally, he just throws it on the ground over the fence, and it inflates. I'm gonna drag it down onto the water, and they're always whispering. So I don't understand who's talking to who. because it was, when one whispers, it sounds like all the same voice. So maybe it's just one person speaking and the other person's not saying it. I don't know, but one of them is named Randy. And so that couple too, while all this stuff is going on between Sean and Kelly and Mike and Kay, and Kay's on the beach. Let's go swimming on the water. No, so they're walking the water. And you remember that shark? I told you about that shark attack down in Amity. Yeah, that's why my brother goes to school in Colorado. Yeah. Did you get a phone call, Venezuela? Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to learn. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Oh no, this means we're gonna have to have a serious conversation, as Mike Brody says later, about what's really going on between the relationship. And so there's that, and then as this going on, there's some very some pre sex foreplay, some pretty intense foreplay too going on between Kelly and Sean. Although I'm not sure, maybe it's like, oh, let's here, I'm gonna grab your hat, you're gonna chase me, let's go in the water, which is and then so there's that going on, and then there's some, what's the phrase, heavy petting going on in the water. I mentioned, oh, you turkeys have any idea? So all that stuff goes on, and they're having fun. So while all this is going on, we have the other couple, the thieves, going on the water. All right, let's go. Let's go. All right, I'm going to go down. I'm going to get the good stuff. I'm going to need $200 for it, okay? Oh, come on, quickly. Randy, you got it right. Wait. And the thing, boom, you hear something. The light suddenly disappears. And then, and the other guy who's holding onto this rope, I don't know if he can let go of the rope. I'm not sure, but he just and he falls over accidentally. And oh, and that's it. So we have more victims of the shark here. We assume to be victims, two more victims, and not just these two poor unfortunate souls, mind you. We also have the final shot, the coup de grace, so to speak, which is the floating yellow inflatable boat, the inflatable dinghy, all of a sudden floating at night, and then voila, like that, it's gone. So we have the one more inflatable boat gone, lost to history, as it were. So, as what have I said before? In these Jaws, in the world universe of Jaws, if you're a character in Jaws, don't ever, don't ever ride in an inflatable boat. Don't ever do that. My goodness, that is a mistake. All right, so yes. And now the game is really afoot. So something is rotten in the state of Denmark, or to borrow a phrase from Hamlet, or to paraphrase, something is rotten in the state of SeaWorld. And we will see what that is as we go forward. But before we do, let me now turn to the live chat. Okay. Sorry about this. There we go. Okay. Seth says, I love when Sean is hitting on the other girl in the bar. I'm caring to a fault. It's all in my eyes. Let's see. Scott says, great white sharks are very misunderstood. There are some videos of great white sharks on YouTube with people saving them, swimming with them, etc. Still have to be careful, though, just in case. I wouldn't want to swim with any big fish. Yeah. Yes, Seth Wall says, when the dead body is seen floating in the water of the mustached gate fixer, that young girl screaming sure stayed close to the glass a while to let out that scream. Yes, you're talking about a little bit later when the body is seen floating. And it's like, oh, look at that beautiful, oh, look at that. It looks like a butterfly. Oh, yeah. Right, yeah, you're talking about that scene, right? Yeah. Wow, what a, yeah. Yeah, and you're right. Some guy was pushing her towards the glass. Right? So Jared says, yeah, some guy behind there was a jerk, pushing it, holding her against the glass. Yes, that's right. Scott says you're gonna need a big non-inflatable boat. Yes. Right. Well, the orca in the first film was not an inflatable boat, but look what happened to that one, right? But yeah, but never have an inflatable boat. That's for sure. Yes. So, all right. So let's keep going here. So where was I? So yes. Now the next morning, right? Now we have, right, Shelby Oberman. Now is now missing, and so a lot of intrigue is afoot, and this is all on the heels or on the eve of the grand opening, opening to the public, I should say, of SeaWorld. So this is a big deal. Oh, I forgot too. Before we have that, we have the introduction of the one, the only. There's Jack, and then there's Philip Fitzroyce with a capital R. And so there's this relationship or friendship between Calvin and Philip Fitzroyce, who's a bit of a celebrity in this world, and so he seems to be very adventurous, very almost reckless with his own life in terms of what he wants to do with his camera and photography. According to Jack, too, when they're in the bar with Calvin Bouchard a little later in the film, according to Jack, Philip Fitzroyce, the Simon Corkindale character, is the 16th Earl of Haddonfield. I think that's what he says. 16th or 15th. I think it's 16th Earl of Haddonfield. And whenever I hear that, I think, oh, is he referring to Haddonfield, Illinois? I know he's not. But it sounds similar to Haddonfield, Illinois. And Haddonfield, Illinois, for those of you who know the film Halloween, this is a very central location with regard to a character who's referred to as Michael Myers. And so I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Philip Fitzroyce fought Michael Myers in a Halloween movie? And to top it off, Philip Fitzroyce as Manimal, right, in the Manimal form, battling Michael Myers in a Halloween. Wow, wow! Talk about an epic crossover of just gargantuan proportions, that's for sure. But anyway, so we have now another key member of the cast now well underway as part of this proceeding. But before I get into that, we understand that Shelby Overman is missing. And Charlene is worried, but of course she's mad, and we find that he has all of his belongings. And this always fascinated me. He left behind his passport, his wallet, his driver, and what does he say? According to K2, driver's license and pawn tickets. So like he wouldn't been going any far, if you left behind your pawn tickets, right? Driver's license, but your pawn tickets, yes. So I don't know, but maybe I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm being overly simplistic here. Maybe those pawn tickets really held something of quite value. So you never know. You never know. So maybe I should take that back. I apologize. So, in any event, we understand that Shelby Overman is now missing, and everyone knows it. So they think maybe there might have been an accident. Maybe he might have died, or maybe there was a terrible accident. But they know that he was meant to fix the gate, and now he's missing. So now it's up to Mike Brody and Kay Morgan to go into, I mentioned it before, the yellow submarine, the little submersible, and go in and try to swim around the lagoon to see if they can find what I think they're implying to be the washed up corpse of Shelby Overman. But anyway, they're talking about, oh, if you caught there, it would have been, maybe caught in a Spanish galleon that would have prevented him from bobbling up into the surface or something like that. Or it would have been caught in the filtration pipe. He's talking about how the pressure is one way in terms of the filtration pipe. So probably he's not in the filtration pipe, but that means that they're not checking the filtration pipe. If they had checked it, maybe they might have seen, I don't know, maybe the mother shark might have been there already, but who knows where the mother shark was at this particular time? Maybe it was still swimming somewhere in the um, in the lagoon. But my guess is that even at the time where Mike Brody and Kay Morgan are um, um, are in the submersible, I think the mother shark is in the filtration pipe. That's my guess. But anyway, they don't check the filtration pipe. So they go swim around towards, I think, the Spanish galleon thing, and they see the floating skeleton guy. And they go, oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, we call him Oscar, right? That guy. And I think that's meant to be part of the decoration of the Spanish galleon. So, but I always thought as a kid that was one of those thieves that was caught, eaten by the shark the thieves with the inflatable boat. I always thought as a kid that that was one of the thieves, and the shark ate him so cleanly that the bones were became so clean that it was just a floating skeleton of that sort. So that's what I always thought. But of course, I think I understood later that this is just a decoration part of the Spanish galleon. Right? But anyway, they go and they go inside, and there are the dolphins, and the dolphins seem to be trying to indicate something, right? And then what I love too is I think they have their scuba gear and the breathing apparatus applied while they're in the submarine, but they can still talk to each other. But then when they get out with their, I think, maybe portable air cans, they can only speak. So they're all so. I don't know how they're able to speak. So again, I'm not a marine biologist, and I've never ridden in a submersible like this. So maybe it's possible. I just not seeing it clearly. But in any event, they can talk while they're in the inside the submarine. But when they're out and about trying to look through the galleon ship, they can't speak in words, but they can. And so they see the dolphins, and then suddenly, boom, there is a shark coming in from the side. And then what are they gonna do? They're caught. And then what did they do? Then what these are the dolphins. The dolphins trying to help, and then you see the shot of Mike kicking on one side, and then the dolphins are trying to help, and then Catherine's up. But there's a point where I think Catherine loses her grip or something, and maybe one of the dolphins is too fast, and she's Mike, Mike, and then we see the shark coming, Mike, dun, 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 and then suddenly it's not the shark, but it's a dolphin. Yes, so the dolphin helps Kay, and they swim towards the I think it's the back, I don't know, the corral, I suppose, where which is I think an extension or maybe an inner chamber, uh, just maybe slightly cut off from the lagoon, which has I think its own gate. That's my understanding. And and then they go through, and they say, "Oh, switch the gate, the gate." So right, and before they have to close the gate before the shark can go in, and the shark they close it just in time. Dun, dun, boom, boom! Wow, my gosh, what is that? What is that? Oh my! So Mike and Kay have discovered a shark in the lagoon of SeaWorld. And then so now they call Calvin and Jack and Philip Fitzroyce, who are in the bar. And now they call them, and say, don't. I never said don't interrupt me. It's important. It is important, gentlemen. You better come with me. And they go down and investigate this particular event, and they hear from Kay and Mike Brody, and they talk about this as a shark, and they're murderers, Kay. No, no, and they are debate, or now first of all they recognize that they have a shark that is now swimming free and loose within the lagoon complex. So now everyone is now talking about what are they going to do about this shark, and Philip Fitzroyce and Jack uh, jump on the immediate conclusion that they want to kill it, and they can turn it into the sensationalistic news event, killing it live on camera. According to Philip Fitzroyce, sharks, they die magnificently, right? So that is one option that is being discussed. Capture and kill the shark and film it. So that's the first option. But Kay says, no, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute. We have a great white shark swimming around in the lagoon, cut off from the open water. So if we catch it live, then we can say that we are the first, institute of marine or aquatic life studies that has a live great white in captivity. And so that's her appeal. And now there's a lot of pushback from a lot of people, from Mike, who says, no, 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 I don't want this. They're murderers. No, no, right? My father, my brother, me, they're murderers, right? Talking about sharks. They have a bad deal with sharks. Um, so he's against it. And of course, Philip Fitzroy seems to be whispering in he has Calvin's ear. And so Calvin seems to be more and more influenced by what Philip Fitzroy seems to be offering. But of course, it's all about money. And Kay, I think to her credit, turns her argument into a financial based one about how this can sustain the nightly news bulletins on the updates on the shark, that kind of thing. That's world news, according to her. It's not just a one-off sensationalistic killing and that's it. But here we have a constant feed of potential news stories that will keep this story alive, and that will too be a potential, say, marketing blitz and hopefully a revenue push to sell tickets. And so that's one situation. But then I think Philip Fitzroyce turns and he says, yes, of course, killing it on camera is one thing, but what Dr. Morgan is proposing is far more interesting. That's what he says. And it cuts to the nighttime and the squirting of the syringe and all this and the preparation for going underwater. So now we understand that everyone is in agreement. They are going to try to capture this shark alive. And so they're going down with Kay and Philip Fitzroyce with the red wetsuit in particular. He tries to go with Mills bombs, those yellow Mills bombs, which is a great thing. This is the air tank of Jaws, right? Or this is the power cable of Jaws 2, right? And so here we have the Mills bomb. So we have to introduce this somewhere, right? What are they? Mills bombs. What? Mills bombs. The grenades. He has them fashioned by someone who's on the payroll for Her Majesty's government or something like that. But then there is this whole debate on the dock about whether or not Philip Fitzroy should go down with these yellow grenades. And he says, yes, no, yes, no. Do you remember Australia, according to Jack? And we get that great line from Calvin, who's listening from the control room. No grenades, right? So there's that thing going on here. So then he just nonchalantly throws the grenade. The pin is still in there, but he throws the grenade back to Mike Brody. There, he's going to stay up on the surface or on the dock. Was meant to be on ready with the crossbow, with the arrow connected to the red balloon or something, on the one, shot to the dorsal fin right in the back or something like that. While Fitzroyce is down with the camera, and Kay is also down with her special shark wire mesh thing, and shark repellent wire mesh thing, and she's with the spear handy to with the tranquilizer ready to stick it into the belly of the shark. So that's the plan. Tranquilize the shark so it can capture it and then bring it back to life, to be the first great white shark in captivity. So they're underwater and they're doing this thing. And then suddenly we see the shark grabs Kay from, and then Philip Fitzroyce, to his credit, this is the first time he shows acts of heroism. So he drops the camera, he goes straight to Kay and with his knife, and he's trying to stab it, trying to save Kay. So to his credit, so Philip Fitzroyce is not an out and out villain. He is, I think, a very likable character. And so he's trying, and then the shark is there, and then Mike, quick, Mike, and then Mike's on the ready. That's Mike Brody had one job to do. He had one job to do. You had to shoot the crossbow. He's like, oh, it's not working. Oh, I didn't prep it in time. Oh, Mike Brody went, okay, his preps. And then here, shoot it. And we have another great, like I assume to be a great 3D effect, the arrow right into the camera with the red balloon, and going back underwater. It's all dark. It's a little bit difficult to get the one's bearings, I admit, in terms of what's going on, where's where, who's who. But then we're back underwater, and then the shark's coming underwater, and then Kay goes and there, gets it, tranquilizes, done. I did it. Yes. I got him. Yes. And we have Jack just, come on, give me a hand, and then Philip said, we got to tend to Kay, can attend to the ladies, as he says. And he's, there's a sort of a silent acknowledgement between the two of them. Well done. And then Calvin's on the radio saying, how's the film? And everyone's a bit irritated about that. Is everyone okay? It's look pretty scary down there. Yes, look pretty scary from up here too, Calvin. Yes, but now we have the film. Now we have the tranquilized shark, and everything seems to be good to go and ready for SeaWorld, open to the public. So it's all set. Well, before that too, we have the shark, which is now in the tank. in the back there trying to be maybe nursed and nursed back to health, and so it's still out. But then let me just jump into the pool here, because I'm in love with you, Kate. So let me jump into the pool, and I'll just have a nice chat with you while we are kind of massaging this tranquilized shark between us. Oh, you want me to put my hand in its mouth? Okay, I'll put my hand in. Oh, let's get clear. Let's get clear. Didn't it give you any signs? I love that guy. Didn't it give you any signs? No, it's just one. That's one that man is wide awake. We have the first great white in captivity, live great white in captivity. Let's keep it that way. And then Kay's like, whew. And then we're off to the races, and then we're now in the opening day to the public of SeaWorld. But before we do, let's go to the chat here. All right, let's see. Let's see here. Seth Wall says Quint would have had a heart attack at this park. I don't know. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see Quint on one of those bumper boats. Could you imagine Quint on a bumper boat? Could you imagine? Wow, wow. You know, and he hits that kind of heavy set guy. The heavy set guy's like teasing everyone, trying to like, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you. Quint's having none of that. He's like, back home we have a taxidermy man. He's gonna run with his back, and he's gonna ram that guy. He's gonna fall. That's what Quint would do. Yeah, yeah. And the guy's trying to ram his, yeah. He's like that. And he's trying to ram the guy back, and he says, he's just shouting, right? For a Spanish lady. And I was like that. That would be cool, right? Quint versus that guy on the bumper boats. Wow, that would be great. Let's see. Seth Wall says Jaws takes his stalker cues from Michael Myers in this film. Yes, there's a lot of jump scares. Jaws versus Michael Myers. Yes. And let's see. Hold on. Jared says Mike and Kay have narrowly avoided being attacked by the shark, and it was odd. He was saying, "What was that?" Yeah, what was that? Yes, yes. When he encountered a couple of sharks at that point, that's true. That's true. Although maybe to his credit, it was a sudden attack, and so it was maybe not necessarily clear. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Jared also says it's interesting to hear their discussion from killing the shark and then to not killing it, as well as the brief discussion regarding not to have grenades with them. Yes, there's a lot of acrylic down there. It's very delicate, according to Mike. That's his reasoning for him not wanting to use the grenades. So, but of course, they're gonna enjoy, or they're gonna enjoy or considering the option, or they're going to entertain the option of using grenades. And in fact, they're going to use it to their advantage at the very end of the film, as we know, because it's the grenade that is the key to destroying the shark. So, what a scene that is. We'll talk about that later. Yes, Jared says Mike Brody dropping the ball where he had one job. Yes, Mike Brody, he had one job, Mike Brody. And that arrow shot reminds me of the spear gun shot in Friday the 13th, Part 3. Yes, I was thinking the exact same thing, by the way, Jared. Yes. Mario, hello Mario. You say Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th Part 3 are from the same year. And then Jared says Friday the 13th Part 3 was in 82, Jaws 3 was in 83. So I remember, I don't want to get into too much detail about Friday the 13th Part 3, but I think one of my favorite shots in that, I don't want to be, for those who know Friday the 13th Part 3, you'll know what I mean when I'm talking about this shot, okay? All right, so that's I love that. That's really great. Yeah. Yeah. So and that music too, bum 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 bum. All right, okay, I'm gonna get carried away, friends. But Jaws Street. Let's go back to Jaws Street. Okay, so now we are off to the races. Now SeaWorld is open to the public with that. I think it's right. The killer whale walking guy, and everyone holding hands with the kids, and the silver bullets, da 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 da, the helicopters. All right, let's go, and all this great exciting water ski action. Here they go! Yes, and everyone is excited, and da da da. And Philip Fitzroyce is uh, is there, doing catching the camera there. It's great stuff, and da da da. And he's jumped, on a harness, a cable, da da da. It's all great stuff. So you have exciting opening day to the public, and the sales are just beyond expectations. Everyone is a huge, huge success. Everyone is excited. So while all this is going on, so two key things are happening. First is the shark, which is now captured. And then the second is still the search for Shelby Overman. So there's still this idea of Shelby Overman. Where is he? And so there, he could have been caught up. He could have washed up. And Calvin says, "Did you check the filtration pipe?" No, no. There's too much current going the other way, according to Brody. And Calvin says, "Yeah, I'm holding you responsible, Brody." And Brody's like, "Oh my goodness!" But Shelby Overman is somewhere in the lagoon, somewhere floating. Probably, who knows? We don't know. That's one thing. Okay. And the second thing is the Calvin Bouchard's decision to have the shark moved from the sort of the nursing tanks to the pool, the public pool viewing area, pool number 6, I think. Move the fish, according to Calvin Bouchard. He's the one who makes the decisions after all. It's his park, right, according to him. So they have the shark moved to the pool 6, and while they are, Mike is doing his thing, he's talking to Kay, and then going off somewhere else, and then Kay's like, "Yeah, yeah, you speak Spanish?" He's like, "No, yeah," and then something like that, and then she hears on the announcement about the shark being on display for public viewing. Goes, and just, this is of course terrible news for her, because she knows that it's still in a very delicate situation. It shouldn't be rushed, it shouldn't be moved, but unfortunately this decision was made apparently without her knowledge or confirmation beforehand. So that's too bad, because she goes to the pool. Why does he have to go on his own? And so we have all these people watching the shark swimming in this pool, but then we see the shark slowly turn over. And that's about, "Oh no, it's fine. It's good God." And then this is where I think Scott, our dear friend early in the chat, was saying about how this is an indication of where the shark, there seems to be the film is showing sympathy for the shark. And so this is a very, and the music, it's a little bit maybe suspenseful music, and this is for a dying shark. And then when it turns over on its belly, we understand, na na na, and there's a very sad music, and the baby crying in the back, na na na, and they go out slowly, sadly, out of the water. Go ahead, photograph them. And so everyone's just very, very down at this point. So that's the situation. So it's a very sad note. But who knows? Maybe this was the thing that got the mother shark angry. It was, well, maybe it's two things. It was that, and also the decision to shut down one pipe and then turn on the other, right? So that was the decision made by Calvin Bouchard a little bit later, because nephew and the other woman in the control room discover some kind of what they think is maybe an obstruction. They're getting contradictory readings from the filtration pipe. There's a lot of pressure, but then there's no output, or vice versa. I forget. Could be an obstruction, which is a very good guess. And the idea, therefore, is the shark is in one of the filtration pipes. They ask Calvin Bouchard directly, what should they do? They're going to shut down one, turn on the other. What that means, or what you assume that means, is the filtration pipe in which mother shark is located, the water flow is turned off. Therefore, because the water flow is turned off, the current is such that it's no longer a current that is against the shark. Therefore, the shark can swim freely out into the lagoon. That's my thinking of what that is. So that's going on. All that intrigue is going on. Calvin Bouchard, bless your heart. You're charismatic. You're wealthy. You're incredibly intelligent, very savvy marketing wise. But when you make you do make wrong decisions, Calvin Bouchard. But again, he didn't mean to. He didn't mean to make the wrong decision because you don't know. No one knew that the shark was in the filtration. Well, who knew? Who knew? But so that's one of the bad decisions he makes. The other bad decision was having the baby shark moved to the public viewing pool. So that was another bad decision. But again, I don't think we can fault him. It's not his fault. He didn't mean to do it. It's just that's part of business. And again, in the ordinary course of things, I think these would be maybe not the baby shark one. Maybe that was probably a bit going beyond what it is he should have done. But the choice to shut down one of the pipes in favor of the alternate pipe, I don't think that is that's a bad business move by any stretch. It just led to these very very disastrous consequences for the entire SeaWorld operation, as well as the lives and the lives of the people that are in the park. But that's the film. But anyway, so now we have that scene in motion. One more thing that's taking place right now, which is those three young women who are visiting the park. It's a lovely day, and they say, "Oh, let's look here. There's no extra added fee to go into the underwater tunnels, and it's also informative and educational. So you can go in there, you walk in there, and they see this is so cool. Oh, that's so gross. And they're attacked by these robotic armed octopus tentacles, and and all this stuff, and then they go, oh, look at that. Oh, that's so cute. There's a butterfly. Oh, then I imagine dun, 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 and the body of Shelby Overman at long last, floats. It's like, I don't know, like that the way that the Shelby Overman head kind of emerges from the deep, from the bottom there slowly. It's like Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now or something like that. Just dun, dun, and as Jared and Seth were alluding to in the chat, that jerk behind that woman just pushing her face against the glass. Oh my gosh, you had this chewed up body of this guy. Okay. So we have now the setup. Shelby Overman's body has finally been found. And so now it's up to, oh, and I forgot to, while all this is going on, I forgot that we have all the celebration and then those square dancing show, dun, 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 with the pig in the middle there, dun, 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 and one of the dancers is Kelly. And so Kelly's not just a water skier; she's also a very skilled dancer and a performer. So that's really great. And so she's finished her performance, and now Sean wants to see if she has some time. Let's go on the bumper boat. Bumper boats. So now Kelly and Sean are on the bumper boats. Fitzroyce is with Bouchard and Jack, and then at the same time they found Shelby Overman's body, and now it's up to and now one of the filtration pipes has been shut off in favor of another, which we think that's why we see the mother shark, which is probably going to be emerging from that shut off pipe. And then finally, Mike, Brody, and Kay are examining the body of Shelby Overman. What a gross scene this is, by the way. You have this huge close up of this decomposing face with one of the eyes bulging and the worm thing. Blah, it's gross, gross, gross. And you can understand Mike Brody's like, that's Shelby Overman. You can understand what he feels, and like, if this is a shark attack, I've seen it before. And Kay, like, and then you lift it. It's this weird, it's this weird like prosthetic like doll with this, you know, like it looks like I always thought it looks like a turtle. It looks like half human, half turtle thing with the bone. But anyway, that's meant to be the chewed up body of Shelby Overman. Oh my, oh my God. And her hands are stretched out like this. I think this is meant to indicate what she is thinking in her mind about the bite radius of whatever it was that attacked Shelby Overman. So now we are off to the races. Now they are rushing to the underwater restaurant lounge, where you've got the sharks swimming out, and the shark repellent glass or something. That explanation from Calvin Bouchard, and then Kay and Mike come in. Sit down, keep your voices, keep it. Was it a shark? It was a shark. It was a shark. The bite rate is about a yard across. So they're they're doing all the calculations about the size of the shark, and they make, as I was alluding to earlier, they understand now, or Kay understands now, that the shark that they captured and eventually died, this was the baby. But the mother is still in the park. And while this is going, we have the bubbles, and over there, look over there, la, 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 with the gums, the huge gums of the mother shark, because the mother's huge. And as Seth said, you can hear some of the growls. Okay, we have now the mother shark revealed to all. Oh my gosh, this huge thing. Wow. Okay. As I mentioned before, the mother shark has a lot of behemoth stuff to it. It's a huge. It's probably the biggest shark of all the official Jaws films, I think. So maybe it's, I don't know, but it looks huge. It looks really huge, and now it's on its attack. Now it's released. It's going out into the lagoon, and now Calvin Bouchard's in a panic. And is on the phone saying, "Seal the park! Seal the park!" And we got those the dancers. I think it's the and then we gotta get to the dolphins ski show. And so now we've got all this. And when Mike says ski show, I always thought, I don't know, I always heard the word or like Keisha, as maybe he's mentioning there's someone that he knows who's named Keisha. Oh, I've got him Rowan Keisha. No, who's, I don't, but I never, and I realized later that he's mentioning ski show, because the idea is they've discovered the shark is swimming freely in the lagoon while all these ski show water ski events are happening on the surface. So he's got to warn everyone to get out of the water, right now. So he goes out into the surface and trying to warn everyone and to get out of the water. So he runs through the dance and runs through all these people, and he's got the sweat armpits and everything. Oh, it's just panic, and he's going up. He tries to go through the performance, and we see all the people on the surface, and he grabs the microphone. Get out of the water with now. Yeah, so it's like, what's he saying? I know he's doing his best. He's doing his best, but it's just like, oh, get out of the water right now. And then hurry up, and then all the people look at behind you, the shark. Oh, the shark! Oh, everyone's falling and everything like that. And then so there's one group that seems to be okay. They've fallen, but they're falling close to the surface, so now they'll help to safety. Okay, so that's okay. Then there's another one, and the fin is up, and I remember this one with the woman who looks, and you see, I remember this shot especially because this was one of the shots that was one of the pictures that was on the back of the VHS. It was the shot of the fin that was really close to the water skiers in the back there. So that was on the back of the VHS, I remember. So they fall, but miraculously, none of them, I think, get eaten by the shark. So the shark is going off. Where's the shark now going? The shark's now going to the bumper boats area. And we see the POV, which everyone thinks, I thought, is the POV of the shark, because now it's going towards the bumper boat where Sean and Kelly are now trying to, I think, uh, uh, re-jump the engine of the bumper boat. Maybe it's stuck or stalled or something. So the POV is going towards them, going toward is it the POV, the point of view of the shark? Is it? And they not get knocked over. We see the opposite angle. No, it's not the POV of the shark. It's the POV of that heavy set guy, the heavy set bumper boat guy. My goodness, that guy. Oh. It's what Seth said. I think, it would have been great to see Quint in this film. Quint. If Quint had been on that bumper boat, he would have done some. Oh my goodness! But unfortunately, he wasn't there. That guy was. He knocks those two over, and then that's unfortunate, because that's that point that the shark arrives. The shark, and then the shark goes for not Sean. It goes for Kelly, poor Kelly, and we see the swimming, and she's just it's really quite horrific, and we see the blood. Oh my goodness! But miraculously, the shark doesn't doesn't kill her. It just just injures her leg, maybe other parts of her body, but injures her leg quite severely, of course, but doesn't kill her. So that's very fortunate for her. But then we go towards another group of people on a raft or something, and then and they fall in the water. Now this always confused me when you see those random group of people like teenagers on the raft there, and then it suddenly collapses and they're falling. We see the underwater shots of them. You see one of them, and there's blood. there's a kind of cloud of blood or dark red stuff forming. So I always thought that this mean that the shark has eaten one of them? It doesn't look like I never saw a shark, but it was when I was a kid. Maybe this meant that the shark had one of the victims of the shark victims is here. But now that I think about it, I don't see any shark bite or anything like that. So I maybe it was an injury that was sustained because maybe a piece of the broken off wood or the platform itself and the planes maybe broke off, and maybe some of the jagged edges uh, hit impacted one of those people, and that caused some unfortunate release of blood while they were underwater. Maybe that was it. So that's my assumption of what happens. It wasn't a shark attack, I think, but in any event, that happens there. So, all right. So this is very intriguing because already we have a shark, the mother shark, who hasn't eaten anyone yet. Maybe the shark is full. Maybe it's just irritated that it was wait. It maybe it was having a rest, a nap, and it just was. You've really irritated that you've woken me up from my nap. You know, sometimes when I wake up from a nap, I'm not always hungry. So maybe I'm not in the mood to eat anything. So maybe that's why the shark wasn't eating anything. Or maybe it was some kind of understanding that its child has been killed, and so now it's off and now hungry for vengeance. But if that's the case, then it's still curious. If it was the case of the mother shark being hungry for vengeance, it's still curious that the mother shark didn't do any killing at this point. So this leads to a kind of theory I have about this particular Jaws 3 shark. The Jaws 3 shark, I understand, has killed. It was probably the shark. According to Dr. Morgan, it was a shark that killed Overman because of the bite radius. It was probably the shark that killed those two thieves that are trying to steal the coral. And so we have, and I think those are the other, right? I think I always forget. Those are the only victims of the shark up to now, right? And there's also that poor fish at the beginning, I think. Right? We can assume, I don't know if, yeah, we can assume probably that it was the mother shark that killed that fish, I think. I hope, I don't know. But, anyways, there's that poor fish, and there's Overman, and then there's those two guys. But there's when the shark is discovered in the lagoon, there is no mayhem except for the injury caused to Kelly and all. But there's no one that's killed, I think. So brings up a curious point about how what's the deal with the shark, right? We'll see later how it kills Philip Fitzroyce, but it doesn't manage to swallow Philip Fitzroyce. So it's just stuck in its mouth there. You know, it's like when I'm eating a piece of popcorn, and you get one of those pieces of popcorn stuck in the back of your teeth. You know, it's really irritating. You can't quite get it out. You know, that's probably how the shark felt when I was eating Philip Fitzroyce. It was just eating some Philip Fitzroyce. It just got a little bit of Philip Fitzroyce stuck there. Just couldn't get it out. You know, so that's one thing. And then the other thing was nephew in the control tower, like get you hear the crunch, which is really violent, by the way, and in a cloud. But then there's a really ambiguous shot of a body through some bloodied space of water, and probably what that meant is the nephew body was floating. So maybe the nephew body wasn't being swallowed. So here's to say that we don't see any digestion action, I think, of the shark in this case. So it's either because the shark isn't hungry, or maybe the shark has what might be deemed to be some kind of issue when it comes to eating. You know, I'm reminded too, there's a film called Airplane. It's a comedy film called Airplane, and there's a character in Airplane, that film Airplane, who's called Stryker, Ted Stryker. And there's a joke about how Ted Stryker has what's deemed in that film to be a drinking problem. And the drinking problem is every time he tries to drink, he can't target his mouth. He always targets accidentally another part of his face. So when he tries to drink and the water is meant to go into his mouth, it goes instead like this, or to his side, dun dun, like that. So that's how I sometimes think about this Jaws 3 shark. The Jaws 3 shark is eating much like Ted Stryker in Airplane is drinking. You know, it doesn't quite hit the mark. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, that's it. Anyway, yes, that's the situation for the mother shark. So, but now the mother shark is just attacking everyone, and oh yes, I forgot too. The mother shark is What is it? There's the other bit too with the underwater tunnels. Now, Calvin Bouchard, to his credit, tries to calmly have the people walk slowly and follow the guides and go out to the nearest available exit. Where's the nearest available exit? We're underwater. Ah, and there's the guy with the red suspenders, and he's, oh, right. And there's the yellow shirt, the tank top yellow shirt guy, and there's some the elderly ladies there. Oh my goodness! And there's the guide, walk, do not run. And then, Daddy, look at the fish, look. And then the fish just attacks just ramming speed against all the tunnels. The water pressure is dropping, and then a water leakage and everything. So now you have all those people now stuck in one of the towers of this underwater tunnel complex because the water pressure of the tunnels because of the leaks is dropping, and so that activates the automatic doors to close, and so now they're trapped in this flooded area with limited oxygen. Now, to the guide's credit, I must say that young woman who's the guide, she is calm as nails. She is super calm. She is trying to keep everyone under control. Have everyone just, okay, we are stuck here. We've got to remain calm. Our oxygen is limited. Just have to just concentrate on your breathing. Take shallow breaths. Concentrate on your breathing. Like, she is so calm under pressure. She's probably one of those people that was in the train. Maybe she was one of the trainees, or maybe not, but maybe she could have been one of the trainees at the start of the film. Remember, right? Show any more cheek, and you'll be back shoveling French fries. That lady was talking to that group of trainees. If that person, the guide, was one of those trainees, good for her, good for that trainee program, whatever it was, that she had a lot of cool under pressure. What a great guide she was. Great. And that is one of the unsung heroes, I think, of a Jaws film. That guide with the red striped shirt. What is it? It looks like what's the name of that book series? Where's Waldo? Where's Waldo look shirt. That guide. I think she is, as I say, one of the unsung heroes of the Jaws universe, and she deserves a lot of credit because without her calmness of mind and presence and just quick thinking action, they would have been panicked. It would have been, again, screaming and mayhem. And as you say, the oxygen is very limited, so it could have been a really, really a terrible, terrible. It was already a terrible situation, but it could have been made even worse had it not been for the calm, cool, and collected action of that guide. So, good for her. Good for her. So, Seth. Land Shark. SNL. I remember. Yes, yes. Um, Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall. Telegram. Telegram for whom? Yeah, I remember. Yes, yes, yes. It's Candgram. Yes, I remember. Yes. I love that skit, by the way. I saw that because when I was in England, I think, my mom got the VHS tape, purchased the VHS tape. It was a Saturday Night Live. It was the best of Chevy Chase, Saturday Night Live. So there was a lot of Weekend Update with Chevy Chase. There was that there's the Jaws skit, and yeah, what were the other good ones on that one? There were a lot of them, but um, oh gosh, what was it? I'm Chevy Chase and you're not, right? Anyway, sorry about that. Yes, so I know that skit very well. It's very funny, very, very funny indeed. Yes. Um, let's see here. Roger's here. Hello, nice to see you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you. I am well, thank you. I hope all's well with you. Eric is here as well. They needed the shark repellent bat spray. Eric, you say here too. Hi, friends. In 2004, I was a videographer at SeaWorld Sister Park in Orlando, Discovery Cove, and the dolphin who played Sandy was still alive and well there. His real name was Capricorn. That is so cool. I know, Eric, you had mentioned it on a comment on an earlier Jaws discussion. That is so cool. That is so cool. Cindy and Sandy. I must say, yes, Cindy and Sandy are other. I mentioned the guide in the underwater tunnels here. Cindy and Sandy too are also great heroes of the Jaws universe. Here, they need to be celebrated, and they are very heroic. Um, uh, let's see, Sandy too. Sandy has, although it's not clear to me. It was the dolphin that tried to stop the shark at the end there, but got caught in the jaws. Was that was that meant to be? Um, what is it? Was that meant to be Sandy? Um, if um, if so, or was it meant to be another dolphin? I'm not sure because does that mean the dolphin was killed or not? Because the dolphin was definitely, I think, killed. But if it was Sandy, then it escaped. So I'm not. I don't know what dolphin if a dolphin was killed or if it was killed. That means it wasn't Sandy or Cindy or whatever. But anyway, that also confused me as well. What happened to the dolphin at the end there? And if it was killed, that was it had to have been a dolphin that wasn't. But anyway, or uh, Sandy. Yes. Okay. So anyway, yes. So where was I? Where is it? Let's see. Seth Walsh says, "Oh, you'll be swell. You'll be great. Jaws is gonna have the whole park on a plate. Yes, starting here, starting now. Every day is young and running. War is hell. Yes, yes, I know. Mm. uh, let's see. Eric Pieper says, "I've always loved how you clearly can see the nephew is a dummy." When he's being eaten. Yes, yes, and the cloud of blood. Oh, and the crunch. Oh, that crunch I think sells it. When I don't know, maybe I really shouldn't be saying what it is I'm going to say, but I saw, as I say, I saw this film as a kid, and like I don't know if you ever done this, but if you have like little what is it like gummy bears or something little things like that you sometimes when I was a kid I pretend I was a shark and they were swimming and they were like I'd have a little gummy bear eating gummy bears and be this little gummy bear is Philip Fitzroyce and I'd be the shark and it'd be like I try to eat it like if Philip Fitzroyce being eaten by the shark I stuck in the mouth and then whenever I'd have not all the time but every once in a while as a kid there would be those like I don't know what the shape of those that's called there's that shape the pretzels just pretzels right those and whenever they'd have pretzels and that rather and especially in the states in the United States you could get these large sized pretzels the crunchy kind not soft pretzels but the hard crunchy kind thin pretzels you can get them in bags like bags of potato chips or so bags of pretzels so sometimes when I'd be eating pretzels of that nature I'd be eating not like flat but like this, facing. And the reason why, because I always think of the scene with the nephew in Jaws 3 being eaten by the shark, and I'd always pretend if I was the shark eating the nephew, and the nephew was like this pretzel, I'd be like, and try to crunch it down like the nephew being crunched down, which is obviously a dummy, as our dear friend Eric Pieper saying. So thank you very much for that comment. Without that comment, I would never have remembered that memory about eating pretzels and pretending that I was a shark eating the nephew of Calvin Bouchard at the end of the film. So, without that comment, Eric, I think perhaps that memory would have been lost to time, like tears in the rain, to borrow a phrase from Roy Batty. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. I haven't thought about that pretzel nephew Jaws 3 stuff. Gosh, I've never thought of that. Wow, that's amazing. Anyway, thank you so much for that, my friend. See, that's the thing too about this film. It just Jaws 3. It just brings back all these memories that I just never would have thought about before. But oh well. Thank you so much. Just give me 1 second here. Almost done. Oh, all right. Sorry, just give me 1 second here while I just regroup a little bit. Incidentally, while we're just this downtime, I like the bit too where Calvin is just really just broken up. He's distraught. He's just trying to do something. He's helpless, but he's in the control room, just that, and the music. Da, da, da. While everyone is hard at work Mike Brody's trying to create that patch with the engineers and and the like, and Kay visits him there, and Kay tries to calm him down. He's in a lot of pressure, and just they're doing their job. It's fine, and this is where Kay and that character arc is. I've been thinking maybe I want to come with you to Venezuela, and then she, I think maybe a bit of the spark hits her arm. Ow! And I love you. Ow! That is a bit of a that is a that's the resolution of that character arc. They're going to stay together in Venezuela. We assume. But although it's interesting to see what happens in Jaws of Revenge. We'll talk about Jaws of Revenge next week. In the meantime, let's see here. Yeah, this is the downtime before the final battle, as it were, between everyone and the shark. Because now everyone knows that the shark's out there, and there is the situation involving the people stuck in the underwater tunnels there, which is a very serious situation. But okay, so let's see. Scott Johansson says Steve Martin, when the shark bites pearly whites and using his hands as the shark's biting. Yes. Jared says Fitzroyce's death was quite. Oh, Fitzroyce. Thank you very much for capitalizing the R too. Thank you. Was quite unique. Isn't eaten with its teeth, but crushed to death, being inside the shark. Yes, the implication is he's crushed, which is horrifying in and of itself. So that's why he's stuck there. But it's like, I don't know what. I'm trying to think when I'm what am I eating, which could be, I mean, I mentioned gummy bears, but gummy bears are soft, right? um Incidentally, I know I'm going back and forth here, I apologize. Incidentally, probably the greatest gummy bear scene in any film that I have ever seen is in the film, which is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. uh, every time I have a gummy bear, and they have gummy bears here in Japan, by the way. You can get them in the convenience stores. There's a convenient. I can get them like 5 minutes, or not even five, like a minute from my house here. But every time I have a gummy bear, I always think of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So anyway, but what was I saying? Oh yes, so Philip Fitzroyce's death and the dynamics of that, like it's, I don't know what's it's like maybe trying to eat a saltine cracker and just not biting it. You know, if it's in your mouth and it's just not biting, you're just letting it stay there. You can use your tongue to kind of maneuver it around and try to get it towards your teeth. You can crunch it and then break it up into pieces, and they can be easily digestible. But the shark doesn't do that for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's in a rush. Maybe it's just maybe it's like, um, it's saying, okay, I want to save it for later, that kind of thing, and just I want to take care of this business with these two swimmers, these two divers, Kay and Mike, first. After I take it, I'll crash through the thing, and I'll try to eat all these people, or get all these people. And after I'm done, then I'll save a little bit of Philip Fitzroyce for later. So maybe Mother Shark is saving a little bit of the Fitzroyce snack for later. But it's possible. Oh, let's see here. Nick the Game Cat, how is your hello? And also Criterion Reviews is here as well. Hello, it's nice to see the both of you. I hope you're well. Okay, so now we have the final act. So the plan is this, right? Which is now the group is regrouping. It's now night. It's an emergency situation. Calvin Bouchard is obviously distraught and he's a bit lost. But Philip now and Mike is trying to create the repairs that are needed, a patch, some kind of metal patch that will be applied to the broken underwater tunnels, that will then help to restore the water pressure, which will then help to disengage the automatically shut doors, and allow for the circulation of oxygen, and also, of course, allow for the water to go down and for the people to be released and be saved from the underwater panic. So this, and then we have, of course, the acknowledgement of the giant sharks swimming around in the lagoon. All this is going on. So now everyone is regrouping. What's the plan? So the plan is this: Mike has to save the people underwater, but he can't do that without risking his own life because the shark's swimming out there, and who knows where it is. So Philip Fitzroyce and Jack come up with the plan of this. They understand that the shark was probably hiding out in the filtration pipe to begin with. And so the plan is to lure the creature back into that large pipe and then shut the gate of the opening of the pipe behind them. And that will give Brody the cover that he needs to finish off the job in relative safety. So that's the plan. Now, if you think of the pipe, the shark is out in the water here, but the pipe's here. So how is the shark going to go into the pipe and allow the gate to then be closed behind him? The idea is using, as Phil Fitzroy says, live bait. And then so the idea is Philip Fitzroyce with Jack here. Jack, we understand, has tied a lifeline, a rope, onto a ladder, which leads to some kind of escape hatch here from the filtration pipe. So that's what my understanding is. The rope is tied here. The rope leads to the end here. The idea, therefore, is Philip Fitzroyce will and Jack will, and then I love the bit with they're underwater and we hear the voiceover of Calvin Bouchard, and they're gonna chum it, and then he's gonna make some and then he's gonna make some noise to attract that shark into the filtration pipe. I love that. Oh, it's great. So the idea is they're going to attract the shark outside of the pipe, bring him in, and that'll mean that the shark's here. Little Philip Fitzroyce is here. Philip Fitzroyce is going to swim. He's going to have the rope to pull along towards the ladder, take pictures while he's at it, and then the shark's going to go into the pipe, and then Jack's going to close it and then lock it, and that means that the shark's in it, and all that remains is for Philip Fitzroyce to come out from the other end, escape, and go up, and then we're all home and free. That's the plan. But the plan goes horribly, horribly wrong when we see that the rope snaps. Now, I don't know who put the rope. I think it's Jack. If it was Jack, the implication is Jack. Ah, oh, my goodness. I don't know. Maybe have two ropes there. I don't know what could have been done. But anyway, the rope snaps. That means that the taut rope is no longer taut. That means he can't pull himself with enough speed to evade the shark in time. So the shark catches up with him and talking about Philip Fitzroyce and just boom, boom. By this time, the filtration pipe has been locked. And so that's okay. And while it's been locked, that means that Brody is given the go sign. He's like, okay, let's go. And he goes down and does the thing with the patching up the pipes. That's good. So everything is safe except for Philip Fitzroyce. And that's the only remaining part of the plan to have him to escape. Will he escape? Of course, we know that he doesn't. And we, of course, knows what happens to him. And what I have mentioned before, I'll say it again, is one of the most horrifying death scenes, I think, in any Jaws movie. This is really, really unsettling and traumatized me as a kid. This scene, to have the shot inside the shark's mouth and the screams, oh my goodness, this was really, really rough stuff. Yeah, and I was watching it recently this past week, and yeah, every time I see this just there's a part of it just chills. It's really, really scary for me, but very effective that way. And of course, as Jared and others have mentioned, he wasn't necessarily bitten per se, or broken up into chunks and then digested, but rather he's just flattened by the tongue and the upper part of the and you see the blood. That's pretty gross stuff. So and then but that means though that the shark is trapped and the gate behind him is shut. But as I mentioned before, then Calvin decides on his own to suffocate it and shuts down the pressure. And I think this inadvertently, I understand, leads to the opportunity for the shark to use its tail power to essentially break open the gate, and it's broken open and it's freed. But not before Mike and Kay, or not Kay, now having joined Mike in the water. She was in the control room. Now she's able to go through the hatch, and that's the way in which we understand that there's a hatch opening connection between the control room and the underwater. And so there's that, and then Kay goes in goes out to the water to assist Mike, be a kind of extra lookout, just to be sure. The shark is freed, but also there's that final farewell speech between Jack, who is so loyal to his friend Philip Fitzroyce, and this is a great scene. This is a poignant scene, but it was, again, to my ears growing up as a kid, and every time I watched it on VHS tape, when Jack is going down, I'm about to pound the pin, pull the pin, Phil. I don't know what about governor. It was very difficult for me to understand what it was that he was saying. I mean, he was very distraught. He was very emotional. That's for sure. But it was also, again, my ear was not trained enough, attuned enough to catch everything that he was saying. So I admit, for the longest time, I had no idea what he was saying. There's no other way out. No. Pull the pin. Pull the pin. So again, and then with the advent of DVD or Blu-ray with the optional English subtitles, you understand that, governor, Philip, God say, answer me. Was there no other way out? Will you pull the pin, Philip, pull the pin. And I think pull the pin is making a reference to the Mills bombs, the yellow grenades that we understand that he had. So, yes. But it was so it was so kind of, even though it was difficult to make out exactly what he was saying, he just broke down. You could just tell he was overwhelmed with sadness. It reminds me a lot too of the scene with Tina in Jaws 2. Tina, remember, after what happens to Eddie in that film, and she's just and so she's, you don't understand what she's saying, but it's you can still get that it's so overwhelmingly powerful because she's so traumatized and sad and upset. Same thing with Jack, or a similar thing happening with Jack. I don't understand what he's saying, or didn't understand, but still it was so powerful because you could tell he loved Philip. He absolutely loved Philip. He was just so dedicated, so loyal. And that scene before they the final scene together, right before they are off, remember, it's like, Jack, because I want to have double coverage, Jack. This is going to be a retirement annuity, and they have that final, like, handshake. Don't ever say in a Jaws film, this is our last job before our retirement, because that's the kiss of death. But that and inflatable boats are the kiss of death. But kisses of death. But yes, so Jack and Philip Fitzroyce, there's a strong bond, and so, oh gosh, that was yeah, that just added to it. But anyway, we have the final thing going, and of course that leads to that shot of the close up of the bar and the gate. Dun, 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 dun. Get him, Brody, get him, and Brody, they're trying to pull up the rope. Brody, they can't get it. And then the shark's coming, and then now it's going to do the final attack on the two of them. But who's going to arrive but the dolphins? The dolphins protect them, just give them a little bit of time. One of them probably dies, but who is it? Which dolphin? We're not sure if it died, if it didn't die, whatever. It probably did. So which dolphin is it? We're not sure. But now that gives the two of them enough time to go swim to the hatch, and this goes to that scene that Seth, our dear friend Seth, earlier in the live chat was referring to, about how this is where the shark is able to open the door with one of its teeth. It reminds me probably of, this is probably how that tooth got lodged into that opening there in the Ben Gardner boat scene in the first film Jaws. That's probably what happened, or maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, so that's the tooth trying to open the door with the tooth, and then I love Mike Brody's line here. So I love that line, and they're trying to get it, just close it. They managed to close it. Right? How did it get loose? Open the hatch. Right? They open the nephew. I think is it nephew? Yeah, Hope opens the hatch, and they're outside. So, and then that now he was able to weld the bulkhead, so get those people out of there, and so gives the order. And then, as I say, the water's going down. The water's going down. You have that elderly lady on the right, there's that guy, and now the doors open and just walk slowly, and they go out, and there's the guy with the yellow, I mentioned him, the yellow tank top guy who's leading from behind, or following everyone from behind. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you see the two fish in that sort of bubble shaped glass, and they're kind of swimming together. I was always thinking they're going to kiss, and that's probably the end of this particular sequence. So those people are saved. Yay, hooray, yay. And the Alan Parker music is triumphant and glorious and bright and optimistic, as it should be at that moment. And so that's great. So that plot is now resolved. Thank goodness. The people have been rescued. Yes, wonderful. But that's not all, because we have the final battle with the shark and the underwater control room. But before we get to that, let me now go to the chat. Let's see here. Yeah, Jared says, just talking about the Jack Phillip plan. Yeah. And the death, yes. Philip was like his brother. Yes, Jared, I agree. M.E. is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Yes, we're still up and running, so you're still on time. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yes, Jared says this: never allude to retirement or have an inflatable raft unless you want to be eaten by a shark. Yes, that's right. Yes, when Seth says, when Mike and Kay swim away at that part, Jaws is absolutely gigantic. Yes. Seth says, I love the underwater bar that Calvin and company are in. Very James Bond. Yes, very Spy Who Loved Me-ish. Yes, I agree. Yes, Seth says, speaking of Stapleton, who would win in the fight, Jaws or Jaws? I don't know. I think Jaws. Yes. M.E. says, I'm a long time fan. Oh, thank you very much, M.E. That's very kind of you. Very, very kind. It's always nice to see people stop by the chat, and so thank you so much, M.E. And you're very kind, very, very kind. Wow, yes, I don't deserve it. I really don't deserve this very kind attention that you and others have been so kind to provide. But I that doesn't make me any less appreciative. I'm very, very appreciative. Thank you. I really am. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Or to borrow a line from Bob from Jaws 2, right? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. So where was I? All right. So good. We have perfect, right on time. So now we are in the final stages. And so what is this? So now everyone is there. So there's in the control room, Calvin, there's a lady, there's nephew, and now there's Kay and Mike. We're still just regrouping from being nearly killed by the shark, and there's out from the water. And now we have then and into slow motion. It's like slow. It's not slow motion, right? It's and then this is the mouth. And then the glass, and then the tilted way that the water comes up, and the sparks and explosions, flame up, and then the water just fills up, and So this is one thing so I never. If I know it's probably a skill or trick, I'm not sure, but when you're underwater, and you're trying to put on goggles or something, it's hard. You can't do it without having goggles filled with water, right? At least I can't. So they put on their masks. Now, I don't know how they're able to get the water out of the masks and put them on, so the masks are absent of enough water to be able to see clear. I was never able to figure out how that's done. It's done in movies all the time. Thunderball, people mention James Bond. Thunderball, it's done all the time. People take off masks and put them on. It's just everything's back to normal. I think it probably has to do with, and people who are scuba divers, please let me know. But I think it has to do with when you have a mask underwater, it's taken off, it fills up, obviously. In order to be able to release or put air back in, or to have the water back, I think you're supposed to go it like this. And so the glass part is up top like this, and then the opening is below, and then you have the the air exhalation, which is, I think, right, the carbon dioxide bubbles blow out, and that would, if you tilt it enough, that will then be able to put the air in, and then that will release the water out, and then you can put it on, and you can put it on like this, and that's probably how it works. At least I think it is. But in any event, for them to be able to do it in that short a period of time, while the shark is just fitting through, and it's just his head, because its entire body can't fit through. It's trying to fit in, which is a great shot, by the way, the exterior shot of the shark trying to get in there and everything. And it's I think it's an animation, and I love to, like, Calvin is like, all right, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna save the woman. Just let's save the woman, get the heck out of there. What about nephew, Calvin? What about nephew? Just bring nephew too. He's like, no, I'm just going down the steps, going down. I'm going. He's like, oh, and then here I am with the pretzel. I'm like, oh, and it kind of, we see a shot which assumes probably it's an ambiguous shot. I understand, but the assumption maybe he wasn't swallowed, but he kind of, his body fell out again. I don't know, and then so the mouth opens and we see and this is the body of Philip Fitzroyce. Now, I have no idea. I'm, as I say, I'm not the biggest expert when it comes to the making of Jaws 3. Is that a Philip Fitzroyce doll, or is it the actual actor Simon McCorkindale? I have no idea, because if it's a doll, it looks pretty lifelike to me. But if it's Simon McCorkindale, the actual actor who's underwater, that means he has to be underwater while the shark is going. That's pretty tough acting, if I do say so myself. So anyway, in any event, the idea is Kay and Mike see that there is the body of Philip Fitzroyce, and the music kind of, then it goes, it goes into that stuff, right? And then and now they have the plan of, there's the Mills bomb, the yellow what is it, the yellow grenade. There's the yellow grenade, and the yellow grenade is now being held out by the now inert dead hand of Philip Fitzroyce. And so they concoct a plan, the two of them, Mike and Kay, in just the nick of time. So there's a big metal stick that they're bent, and so the idea is Mike is on one side, and then Kay is going to be on the other side to distract the shark, and the shark's going to open its mouth, and that'll hopefully give Mike enough time to go and try to use the stick to get the pin out of the thing, and then pull it, and that'll make the thing explode or something. I don't know. So so that's the idea. Yeah, it's a very ingenious plan, and it's amazing that they were able to come up with it in such a short amount of time, like they did. It's amazing. So that is the situation there. So and the music's great too. And then Kay's on the other side just slapping the shark's head and go like, I don't know. This is my little ballpoint pen. Like, I'm Mike. Da 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 da, and he gets the pen. And where are they gonna hide? Because it's gonna be an explosion, and there's an enclosed. Where are they gonna? They're just gonna hide behind this like metal thing. I don't know. Dun 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 dun. The sharks. Dun 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 dun. Boom! Boom! It's great, right? Because there it just bites down just in time for the just explode. Boom! And just explode. Boom! And explodes again. Boom! And explodes another time. Boom! And then you have the 3D effect of all the shark chunks. And you have to assume that maybe there's a little bit of Philip Fitzroyce chunks in there as well, for good measure. Who knows? I mean, probably not. It's best to not think about it too much. But then we have the final grace note, as it were, the 3D grace note, which is the Jaws And then yes, everything's over. And despite the fact being in such close proximity to the exploding shark head due to a Mills bomb grenade, we see that Kay and Mike are okay, and they're swimming with this lovely angelic sounding music. Oh, this. Where's everyone? Is everyone alive? Yeah, Calvin made it. Lisa, yeah. They don't mention nephew. No one mentions nephew. Poor nephew. Nephew is another unsung hero of these films, I should say. There's nephew, there's the guide, and then but there's Cindy and Sandy too. But Cindy and Sandy do that get their say here. And what about Cindy and Sandy? So Sandy. Oh, Sandy, oh, good girl, Sandy. Oh, where are you? Oh, I hope she made it. Oh, Sandy. Oh no. Oh yeah. All right. Da, 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 na, 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 na. All right. Da, na, 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 na. And then direct here. Na, 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 na. All right. Da, 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 na, na, da, na, na, na. And then fade to black with the sunshine in the distance. And that's it. And one for the history books, my dear friends. Jaws 3 is now over. Yes. So, this is the great film that is Jaws 3. And it's over. It's over. And what a ride this film is it not? There's a lot going on that I was trying to. But before I get carried away even more, because I think I've been carried away, swept away so much by this film. Too much so, I admit. Let me now go to the chat. Yes, that's right. Jared says the woman in the control room seems to have been knocked unconscious. So that's why there's a shot. You don't see her face. You're not sure, but the assumption is it's not moving. So maybe she was knocked out and not unconscious. That's a good point, Jared. I agree. I forgot about that. You're right. Yes. Yes. Um, Seth says the glass shattering scene was better than I remember it, but took me back to childhood to see it again. And then the shark moves very slowly, and it's just stuck in fear with what's happening. Haha. Seth says, that's Jared, yes. And then Seth says, how about the shot of Jaws eyeing everyone in the control center first? Yes, that's right. That's right. And Satori is here. Hello. Cheers from France. It's nice to see you, Satori. Um, you say also, I don't know why, but I always had a soft spot for sequels during this era. Maybe I just like numbers after a movie title. Ha. And no, the sequels are great fun. It's great. I agree. I agree. Jared says Fitzroyce is still there with his hand clutching a grenade. At which point Mike then fashions a hook to be able to pull the pin. Yes, that's right. Jared says, an ET plushie is apparently used as part of the shark's intestines that flies out at the screen when it blows up. Interesting thing, yes. Jaws 3. That's Jaws 3, the discussion in a nutshell. I think we have come in on time. I always have to leave it around 9:30 my time. It's now by my watch, 9:22. So, if you have any last minute comments to leave behind in the chat section about Jaws 3, you can of course do so. But for me, I've mentioned it before, but I'll say it again that the Jaws 3 movie experience for me has always been one where I am brought back every time to my childhood. I'm brought back every single time, every single time to my childhood, even today. As I was speaking about it, and I think it was maybe Eric who was talking about the nephew and the crunch, and it brought me back to the eating pretzels as a kid. And I never thought about that before, but it was so that's an example of, and I think in fact actually in Japan now it's hard to get it's hard to get pretzels like that. So I'm thinking, oh, eating pretzels is a kind of cherished memory for me. Really, it is. And so So yeah, so that's an example of how Jaws 3 is so important to me, and the details are still, as I say, swimming around my mind like inflatable rafts on the lagoon at night. So, and sometimes they are still there, sometimes they are destroyed. Much like the inflatable raft in Jaws 3, destroyed, lost in time, lost forever. But if I'm still able to watch Jaws 3, and if I'm still able to talk about it with great people like you, and if you are able to put up with my overbearing and maybe illogical approach to discussing this film, then I am very grateful for that opportunity. And I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to be able to just share that enthusiasm I have for this film. I have a lot of enthusiasm for this, as I hope I've tried to express in this discussion. But I'm very grateful for this. So thank you very much for providing me with this opportunity, my dear friends. It was a lot of fun. It was really great, and your comments have been a blast. Great to read, great to watch, great to listen to, great to hear, great to learn, as always. Jaws 3, Jaws 3D. What a film this is, from 1983. Um, let's see. Aaron Dillis here. Hello. It's don't know how late I am. We're still going on, so not late at all. Don't worry about it at all, my friend. So thank you so much for joining. Let's see. Laney Lane says, thank you for doing this. I enjoyed it very much. Me too. Thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate it. That was for me a lot of fun. Yeah. Uh, yeah, it was great to see you. Seth says, can't wait to watch Jaws: The Revenge. This has been beyond excellent so far. So revisit these films. Thank you very much. Jaws: The Revenge. Yes, next Sunday, same time, same place, will be a discussion about Jaws: The Revenge, and that will be the last of the Jaws films discussions. So I will, yes, I look forward to that next Sunday, my time, Sunday, 7 a.m. my time. So thank you very much for that. Jaws the Revenge. I don't know. I mean, um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many people will try to attend. Maybe not so many. It's not necessarily the most popular film on the planet. I know. So, but that's okay. That's okay. If it's a large group or a small group, it doesn't. I mean, I love it either way. I love it either way. This is a great opportunity if I can talk about Jaws: The Revenge. Yes, Jaws: The Revenge. I saw that in the theater as well, and there are some pretty scary scenes in that as well, and I'll talk about that. And Michael Caine. Talk about Michael Caine. Hoagie. Hoagie. We'll talk about Hoagie and the banana boat and right. Well, yeah. I don't want to talk too much. We'll talk about that. It's gonna be great. Gonna be great. I hope it's gonna be great anyway. But next Sunday we'll talk about Jaws: The Revenge. I'm looking forward to it immensely. And also, I am still underway, currently undergoing the what is known as the 31 days of gangster films and police films from the year 1970 to the present day. So that's 2 videos a day at least. So one video on the police film, one video on the gangster film for 31 days. I think, where am I? What day is it? Day 13 today, I think. I lost count. So is it day 13? Yeah. So I put up day 13 or day 14. Day 13, I think, earlier today. So thank you very much for all who have been joining in on that. That's been a lot of fun. And I've been it's I think it's been a really fun project. It's a I admit also it's I don't want to I'm not saying this to try to feel sorry for myself or try to get any sympathy. Don't get me wrong, but it's also been quite energy consuming in terms of getting those. I wasn't quite realizing just how much energy it would be taken to do 2 videos a day, or to prepare videos to be uploaded 2 a day. So, but that's not taking any of the fun away from my side. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So thank you very much to all who have been participating with this channel or interacting with this channel over the 31 days. That has meant also that I have been not necessarily putting up criterion videos as much as I used to. I'm usually prone to do, but I will try to have that. I'll try to have those um, submitted, or not submitted, but I'll try to have the criterion video discussions uploaded maybe around the tail end of the 31 days, so in a couple weeks at the latest. So that's my idea. So, my dear friends, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And oh, Scott, thank you. I appreciate it, my dear friend. I'll take a look at that when I can. And for everyone who attended today, warmest regards. Warmest regards indeed. It's been so fun, and I hope all is well. And don't forget, don't ever, I mean, if anyone here is an inflatable boat proponent or inflatable boat, say, company owner or something, I mean, no offense, absolutely no offense. I love inflatable boats, don't get me wrong. I love them. I think they're so cool. If there's a pool, you can get an inflatable boat, you pump it up with air. That's part of the fun. I love inflatable boats. I love them. I love them. All I'm saying is, if you are a character in a Jaws movie, probably it's the best idea to avoid the inflatable boat. That's all. But for everyone else, go for it. Inflatable boats are fantastic. I love them. I love them. Anyway, so thank you so much, and my dear friends, be well and cheers. Thank you. See you at the next one, I hope. I'm trying to think of the best way to end it. To quote Philip Fitzroyce. No, let's see, not quote Philip Fitzroyce. To quote Calvin Bouchard. No grenades. That's a cool line. All right, let me just say it one more time. I got to say it one more time. Overman was killed inside the park. The baby was caught inside the park. Its mother is inside the park. It's a great line. All right, my friends. Cheers.